This is the Dania Beach City Commission regular meeting. It is Tuesday, June 11, 2019, and it is 7 p.m. Can you please call the roll?
Mayor Llewellyn.
Here.
Vice Mayor Odman.
Here.
Commissioner Brandemart.
Here.
Commissioner Harris.
Here.
Commissioner James. City Manager Garcia.
Here.
City Attorney Ansbro.
Here.
Thank you.
Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And would you all please join me for a moment of silence? And I'd particularly like to have a moment of silence for the people in Virginia Beach. Thank you. Next, we have presentations and special event approvals. First item is Certificate of Recognition for Scholastic Achievement from the Hollywood, Florida Scholarship Foundation, presented to Jessica Romer, Kimberly Lastra, Farah Inayat, and Danielle Miller.
So we have one of our students here. Sorry.
Please state your name for
Yes.
us.
I'm Pat Chuckerman. I am the president of the Hollywood, Florida Scholarship Foundation, 545 Southeast 4th Court, Dania Beach, Florida. Randy, introduce yourself.
Randy Shane, board member of the Hollywood, Florida Scholarship Foundation, 102 West Dania Beach Boulevard, Dania Beach, Florida, as the Chamber of Commerce.
Ina Renza, Vice President of Ways and Means for the Hollywood, Florida Scholarship Foundation.
Kathy Myers, board member and parliamentarian of the Hollywood, Florida Scholarship Foundation. Thank you.
So I said I would be very brief, and I'm going to give you a brief overview, and then I have a handout about the foundation. And most of it I'm going to read because I've said it so many times, I'm always afraid I'm going to forget something. So this time I'm going to read it. The Hollywood, Florida Scholarship Foundation is a nonprofit organization of 501c3 dedicated to providing college tuition assistance to deserving high school seniors residing in Hollywood and Dania Beach, Florida. We award high school seniors who submit a completed application to us and who demonstrate they are both high academic achievers and have unmet financial need. Our board members interview each qualified candidate in person to select the recipients each year. We work closely with the BRACE advisors at each high school, and we go to the school to interview students in person to provide gap funding, which is our focus. We identify students with unmet financial need and insufficient family income and resources to meet their need. We help fill their gap in funding, and we currently award each student $1,000 a year. The thing that's unique about our scholarship, we provide funding to the student for all 4 years of their college education if they meet our criteria. That means financial need. If they win the lottery, they have to give us money and pay it forward. We provide the funding directly to the student. Most scholarships provide the funding to the universities, and the universities take it out of their financial packages. The foundation began in the early 1960s, and we've provided millions of dollars of scholarships to thousands of students. For these 50-plus years, we are and have been a 100% volunteer organization, which means over 95% of the funds we raise goes directly to the students. We currently fund about 80 students each year. I'm proud to say that we have 4 students this year who live in Dania Beach, and currently we have 9 total students in our program who live in Dania Beach. As you all know, there's no high school here, so they go to various other high schools. We raise our funds through fundraisers, grant applications, interest dividends from endowments we have received, and donations. We accept tax-deductible donations from individuals and organizations, and we welcome your donation, no matter how large or small. We can be reached at www.hollywoodscholarship.org. We'd like to thank the City of Dania Beach for their continued support of our organization. So now we have Kimberly Lastra, who is here with us this evening, and her family. looks like the other ones couldn't make it. So we are going to take a picture.
We also have a certificate of recognition for her,
Yes.
which is right here. So why don't you all come, we're doing something a little different tonight. You all come back here with us, and we will take a picture of you all up here on the dais with us.
We're gonna have to move the chairs. We're not gonna get the flash at all. I don't know. We'll just go 1, 2, 3. We're gonna get a bunch. Thank you.
You got all the.
I do. Thank you.
Okay, our next presentation is the presentation of City's Comprehensive Annual Fiscal Report for fiscal year 2018 by HCT Certified Public Accountants and Consultants, LLC. Please make sure you give us your name and address.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager, City Clerk, City Attorney. Greetings. My name is Roderick Harvey, partner with HCT. I also have with me our Audit Manager, Thomas Williams III. HCT is the CPA firm of record for the City of Dania Beach. We are here to present the audit results for the year ended September 30, 2018. We will go through a short presentation that will involve the audit opinion, a financial summary, a comparison of where we ended in 2017 as compared to where we landed in 2018, and then we will go through our management letter comments. I want to say before we begin, in this audit there was a lot of direct involvement by me. We believe that our audit results have a few things for your consideration. And again, we want to thank upfront staff, finance directors, and also we did 5 interviews I did with key management. And so we want to thank those guys for working with us. With that being said, based on our audit results, we are issuing an unqualified opinion, which is a clean opinion, which basically means that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the city, again, as of September 30, 2018. To delve into the numbers, and you can find a reference in your CAFR, which I was told was provided to you a day or so ago, and so hopefully you have stayed up and read it from front to cover. But if not, you can reference these pages. General fund total assets, 36.3 million, total liabilities, 4.5, total fund balance, 31.7, and unassigned fund balance, 21.6. Looking at all funds together, again, this is on page 21, 22, total assets, 44.1, total liabilities, 5.4, total fund balance, 38.7, and unassigned fund balance, 21.5. Looking at the city's proprietary funds or business type funds, which you can find on page 27 and 28, total assets 71.3, deferred outflows 1.8, total liabilities 24.8, deferred inflows 991,000, and the net position for our proprietary funds at the period ended September 30, 2018, 47.3 million. Looking at what we call the sexy statement, which is your money coming in and your money going out, which you can find on page 24, revenues for the period 50.6, expenditures 50.4, which gives an increase in fund balance of 3.8 million. Looking at all funds together, total revenues 55.3, total expenditures 56.2, and that leaves a positive change in fund balance of 2.5 million. Moving over to the proprietary funds or the business type funds, total operating revenue 18.2 million, operating expenses 11.5, non-operating revenues a little over 200,000, income before transfers 6.9 million, net transfers a decrease of 3.4, but we still have a positive change in net position of $5.3 million. One of the things that I like to do at these presentations is, again, to talk about where did we end the year before as compared to the most recent year end. So if you look at fund balance, we ended in 17 at 36.1 as compared to 38.7, which gives a positive variance of 2.5. Looking at our revenues, 46.6 for the year 17 as compared to 15.3 for the same period in 18, which gives a positive 18.59%. Expenditure, we expended 52 million in 2017, and in 2018 we expended 56.2, so that grew by 6.56%. Looking at our proprietary funds, net position at the end of 17, 43.8 compared to 47.3 in 18, again a positive variance of 3.5 million. The revenue comparison you can see was relatively flat with a change or a delta of 686,000 or 3.9%. And also you can see that expenses for the proprietary funds was flat as it represents a small decrease of 7.9%, or in dollars, a small change, a delta of 91,000. Based on our testing and our results, we have placed in the audit report several what we would call management letter recommendation. These are things for you as a commission to consider through the manager to implement as best as you feel, and we will present those tonight. Our first comment deals with employee annual evaluation. The city does not have a formal process for employees to receive an annual evaluation. Our recommendation, we recommend that the city institute an annual employee evaluation process during fiscal 2019. Our second recommendation deals with cash handling procedures for Parks and Rec. The city's Parks and Rec department should have a manual for cash handling procedures that includes the various type of transactions that may be encountered. We recommend that the finance department implement through the elected and appointed officials a cash handling procedure, cash handling manual during the 2019 period. Number 3, the city clerk office operates a detached system of accepting payments for lobbyist registration. We recommend that the Finance Department implement, again through management and the elected officials, a manual, a procedure to make sure that those transactions are handled appropriately through the clerk's office. Our next comment relates to the info technology as it relates to online registrations for lobbyists. We detected a gap where a lobbyist may be able to register more than one client for any period, which is in contradiction of one of your ordinances. And so we recommend that the city institute a module or upgrade or a patch to eliminate the ability of any lobbyist to be able to register more than one client for what they paid for. Our next recommendation or best practice consideration is the monthly and quarterly year-end closing checklist that the Finance Department uses. We noted that that was not signed off by initiator or a reviewer, so we recommend that the city's Finance Department institute a practice on their month-end or quarter-end statement that the initiator sign off, the reviewer sign off, and a department head sign off with a date on each, and those forms should be retained in accordance with the records maintained by the city clerk. Accounting disclosure checklist. The City Finance Department does not use an updated accounting and disclosure checklist as relates to their financials. We recommend, again, as a best practice, that the Finance Department institute an accounting and disclosure checklist for all year-end reporting. This comment, which is our comment number 7, we noted this as a material weakness. It falls around the human resources files of employees. We tested those files, 50% of new hires, 80% of newly terminated employees. We also looked at 28 active and current files and noted some errors in those files. And so we recommend that all employee files are reviewed and all noted correction actions are taken during the 2018 period to ensure that all required HR documents that are associated with that personnel file are in the personnel file. Moving on to our next recommendation, the legal department selects various law firms to represent the city or to handle certain business without a formal vetting process. We recommend that all legal vendors are required to follow or institute a routine or vetting process just as if any other good or service as hired by the city. Getting almost done. Our last comment, our second to last comment, number 8, involves the procurement process and that vendors or bidders should receive a notice of award and a notice to proceed for every formal bidding process once it has concluded. So we recommend that the city institute or implement a notice of award and a notice to proceed letters, documentation for all procurements starting with the 2019 period and going forward. Our next recommendation, the city's procurement should follow all city policies and RFQs as issued to avoid any irregularities. We recommend that the city implement procedural steps and guidelines to ensure adherence by all involved staff of all city policies and procurement standards are maintained at all times, coupled with the objectivity of that RFQ. That concludes, Mayor, our presentation to you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. If the Mayor will so allow, we will do our very best to entertain any questions you may have. If we cannot answer those questions, we will reply by email with answers at a later time.
Commissioner Brandemarty?
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
First of all, thank you for making the font be a good size. Usually when we get numbers up there, you can't even see them. So I say you did a good job on that. And second of all, I like that when you brought up the problems that we had in the finance department, That you didn't just give us a problem, you gave us a solution, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
That's it.
Vice Mayor?
On the slide about errors, I don't need you to go too much into it, but when you refer to errors in the HR files, what's an example of an error? I was unclear as to what you meant by that.
Very good. So, and I'm just going to give some basic ones. Every file should have a W-4 filled out and signed. The city also has a code of ethics that should be signed and filled out. Also, there's other documents with the pay rate, with the job description. Those things should be reviewed and signed off so that if in the future there are any disputes, we have our documentation. And also, number one, we have it, and also signed off by said employee.
How many of the files did you say didn't have them? Had some sort of error?
So again, remember, we audit based on sampling. We tested, I want to say, 70-some files, but we tested it by strata. So we looked at old employees, terminated, new and active. Where we would have looked at those would be, I think we looked at 28 new and active, or current and active, I'm saying it wrong, employees. And so 7 out of 28 contained errors. So that's a 25% error rate. And then the new hires was 3 out of 6, which was a 50% error rate as noted.
That was of new hires, you said? That
We only tested 6.
you only had 6 new hires as a sample
Well,
set.
we selected 6. There could have been more, but we selected 6. And of those 6, 3 of them, which is 50%, we noted errors.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Harris?
Mr. Harvey, thank you for a thorough audit. Thank you both. I think those of us up here that have been in healthcare know that it's as thorough as a JCO audit in a hospital and an institution. So it shows to our investors and our potential investors that we're fully accredited and that we can meet the needs of the public in their best interest. So I thank you for a very thorough audit. And for those of people in the audience, the total audit report is 147 pages. So anyway, it's a public record, so anybody's free to read it if you like. Thank you.
Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you as well for this audit and all of this information on ways that we can better ourselves and self-govern ourselves. I did have one question. What do the files in HR have to do with finances?
Okay, good question. So I'm going to answer it on 2 levels.
Well, as long as I can understand it.
I hope so. One level of auditing is based on internal controls. That's your policies and procedures, which says, here is what we're going to do. So if we have a document in HR that says every employee should have 20 pieces of paper signed off by them and signed off by a supervisor or HR person, we will sample test those 20 as a control mechanism to make sure here's what we say we're going to do. What did we do? Our thing is to show how wide is that gap. Is the gap really wide or small? So that's one level of auditing or testing, which will have, over time, a direct effect on your financials. But it doesn't immediately. It's just your controls. It's how you make sure that what you do is correct. The second level of controls is to test the actual payroll of employees to see if they are paid correctly, to see if they are paid in accordance to their increases, their salary, accrual testing. That testing was done by Mr. Thomas, and in that testing, we did not find any errors. So what we note to you is that the controls or the policies over the HR files should be shored up. So that's why we did not issue a financial condition or a financial comment as relates to payroll or salaries, because we did not find errors that directly affected the financial or the numbers as it relates to salary, payroll, PTO, those type of things. So I hope I've answered your question relatively.
No.
I haven't. Okay.
No, but this is something that I can email you about and probably sit down and get more clarification. This is like Chinese. Got it.
Well, one thing that I can say, with those controls, we rely on that for everything else. So if we see something wrong on one side, then we know that we need to pay more attention to everything else. So finding those types of errors in one section, that gives us a heads up to maybe other sections are lacking. And so maybe we find something on the financial side, so that's why we go through that testing, and that's why we note that.
Look forward to your comment on your email.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
Thank you for preparing this for us and providing it to us. First of all, there are management responses to each of the recommendations, correct? That's not up there. That's just part of the report that we have. I want to direct this to the city manager. A lot of the issues involving the employee files and that sort of thing, that there are now policies in place or procedures in place. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And I want to remind everybody that this audit is to September of 2018. So past administration, past team, a couple of you weren't even sitting here. But yes, absolutely. Even before I had a meeting with the auditor, we were addressing these things based on my assessments and my meetings with the finance department.
Okay. And that was the other comment I was going to make. This is from end of the fiscal year in 2018,
That's
correct?
correct.
So
Yes,
even
ma'am.
the numbers that you have up there may have since changed.
No, they should have changed.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, they have changed.
Because there has been different revenue and expenditures that have come in, so the actual numbers that are up there would not be the same today if you went and looked at the books today.
That's correct.
Okay. Did you audit the city general employees pension plan?
Yes, we did.
Okay. For purpose of auditing that, did you request the employee files for the individuals that are in that pension plan?
The samples that we would look at, we would do a representative. So the employees' files that we would look at, we would match them to our testing.
Okay, so do you know, I mean, does that mean then that you did not look at all of the employees in that plan, or you only looked at a sample of them?
We would only look at a sample.
Okay. Do you know how many you looked at in total, or in comparison to the total number?
I would have to go back and look to see how many.
Okay.
We selected over, I'm just going to say 70 as a general number. We selected 70 of the, I want to say current 170 or 140 some active employees of the city for our sample testing.
Okay.
And so most of those should have also applied, some of those would have also applied to the general employees testing.
Is that something you could provide me in an email later?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. That's really all the questions that I have for you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good
Anybody
questions.
else? No? Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Next up is the Dania Beach Chamber of Commerce update by Randy Shane.
Good evening, Madam Manager, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Just want to thank you all for your continued support and partnership with the Dania Beach Chamber. We had one of our most successful events on June 1st, which was our annual Hurricane Code Red Expo. According to BSO, we had over 300 attendees. We had over 38 vendors. We had Robert Molita from NOAA, who actually in his comments stated that we actually have the best Hurricane Expo in South Florida, which was a huge kudo to all of us and our team. I'd like to thank Katia and also Raphael, because I could not have done this all alone. Look forward to next year, and thank you all so much.
Thank you, Randy. Next item is special event request from Neptune TNT Fireworks to install temporary canopies during their annual fireworks sale from June 13, 2019 until July 11, 2019 at 768 East Dania Beach Boulevard, Dania Beach, Florida. Are there any issues with
No,
this?
Mayor, we recommend.
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. We have no proclamations tonight. So next up is citizen comments. Vivek Golakari? Please state your name and address, and you'll be limited to 3 minutes.
301 Southeast 3rd Street. Basically, I'd like to say that we need community service, new laws imposing community service and fines for nonviolent offenses. Laws without penalties are a laughing stock. Police are heroes, they do their best, but without appropriate laws, they can't do anything. Sometimes I feel ashamed to call the cops because I know all they're going to do is to tell somebody to stop it, and they'll stop for a while and start again. We need either community service or a $100 fine or something. Noise pollution, urinating in public, reckless traffic, littering, trespassing. The world has changed. The days are gone when Mama and Papa straightened you out. I'm sorry to have to say this, but government has to step in. And if people behave disrespectfully, either they're going to have to pay out of their pocket or they're going to have to clean the bathroom in Olson Middle School or something. When people realize that you can't just spit in the face of authority or the common good without paying some kind of penalty, they'll be forced to take the law seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Vic. Next is, and I'm sorry, I can't read the handwriting, is it Alina and Brad Capuzzo? Please state your name and address, and you'll be limited to 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Brad Capuzzo. This is my wife Alina. We're building a house right now at 4437 Southwest 25th Terrace, across from Dania Cove Park. We're nearing our build is coming to an end, thank God. So we took it upon ourselves to contact here Chris at Dania here, and she referred us to the commissioners, and we have sent out an email yesterday. And first and foremost, Mayor, in case you didn't know, most everyone replied within a day, which was wow, really impressive. Not only did they reply, but they also took action. And I thought that was amazing, so I wanted you to know, in case you did not, that they did all of that. So, great team. The email that, if you all did not have, and I do have some extra pictures here to show you. I don't know if you have not seen them, anybody had not opened them up, but we have some additional ones. There's a real big issue on 25th Terrace and the Dania Cove Park. The road floods, and it floods literally, our house had to be built up 3 feet off the road, and it floods halfway up our road, and we don't have a yard yet. So our front area is halfway flooded. The park itself is built up much higher than the road. So when the rains come, it's down the hill at the end, it floods out, and the lowest part is at the park. The park is maintained as a water retention area. However, it's higher than the road, so the water doesn't travel uphill, and we have an issue. So given I have a low riding car, it's a BMW, so it's very low, I can't drive my car to my house when it rains heavy. So I have to park at the top of the hill. Having that, we're one of the higher end houses in Dania Beach right now, as far as price, it's kind of, ridiculous. So we came to you, and again, we reached out to you, and Tamara was the one that, sent it out. I met with Eric right away from the Parks Department. He came out today. I mean, a really, again, very impressive response from almost everyone here and from them. So what we're trying to do here is to get 2 things. We have people loitering in the park at night. Okay, they're sleeping in the park. They have tents. They sleep, and the homeless people sleep. We have drugs being sold and or used in the park, and there's evidence on the floor. My 2-year-old grandson comes to the park. That's unsafe. And, of course, the flooding, as I mentioned. So the things that we're asking you for and that people are already starting to address is that the BSO actually go into the park. We've asked for the hedge to be removed. There's a hedge on half of the fence, as I noted in the pictures that I sent out. And so so half of it has shrubs and the other half doesn't. Well, where they're hiding is behind where the shrubs are. So if we have those removed, that would be great help. Also, that the grading of the park could then either be raise the road or lower the park, one way or the other. And the engineers, Eric said he's going to work with the engineers to try to get that addressed. I don't know how long.
You're out of time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you very much. Just, City Manager, I know I sent this email to you as well. And I know some of these issues I think we're going to be able to address with the Parks Master Plan.
Absolutely. I got it from you. I got it from Commissioner James, Commissioner Harris, everybody actually. And we responded immediately. Gentleman has my cell phone number. We deployed our police chief over there to really take a look at the area from a SEPTED perspective. Eric was deployed to look at the drainage. So all hands on deck in regards to this.
Yeah, just wanted, thank you.
It's an ongoing problem in that part of, in that neighborhood as well, so I know it's been an issue. Marjorie Perry?
Must be a new house.
Yeah. Please state your name and address, and we'll be limited to about 3 minutes.
My name is Marjorie Perry, 5521 Southwest 44th Terrace, Dania Beach. I came for two reasons. One is the item number 5, Resolution 2019060, the Dania Oaks. Wasn't aware of that. Just saw the sign the other day for the meeting. I knew there was some building going on back there, but I thought it was further south on 40th. My only comment on that is the traffic on 40th and 54th Court. They're both cut-throughs for 441 and for Griffin Road, and I'm just concerned about the traffic there. My second item is I'm hoping that someone from the city will help out with an issue that I'm having at the Kosher Hotel. I wrote to you all, Commissioner Harris wrote back to me, Commissioner James, and you had staff notify the city that, the city of Hollywood, that Dania's setback would be 80 feet. It's 20 feet from my backyard. I went to the TAC meeting in Hollywood. They're probably going to approve it. It's going to be on the next planning committee meeting. So I hope you'll send staff. City of Hollywood's response to your development response was, we'll let the applicant know. That doesn't seem like a reasonable response. If your setback is 80 feet, their setback is 20 feet, there needs to be some negotiation or some explanation, not we'll let the city know. So I'm hoping that your staff will either attend that planning committee meeting or have conversations before that or work on that, because it's devastating to me. This is my house. This is the hotel. 2 stories, 7 stories, been there 42 years. It's devastating. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Harris?
No.
Marjorie, when you first contacted me, I contacted Mark Leferrier, our, so you've been in touch with him, and we talked about some things that we could do for.
Well, they did. They
to
sent
a
a letter to
buffer.
the TAC committee, and that's the response they got. Thank you,
Okay.
we'll tell the applicant. That's all that's
Okay.
happened.
Because, you know, as the drawing shows, it's a complicated issue with multi-jurisdictional.
Right. This is Dania Beach,
issues,
this is
and
Hollywood, in my backyard.
So, I mean, I can't see Mark from there, but
He's
we'll
right.
be happy to, you know, see what else we can do as far as a buffer, a wall, landscaping, you know, whatever we can do in terms of the law. But, you know, I thank you for speaking
I
up.
realize
and-
that they don't have to respond.
Right.
Do
I
what,
mean-
you're 80 feet, but there should be a better response than we'll tell the applicant. It's not the applicant to decide on that.
Unfortunately, we don't have control over their city, so. Commissioner James?
Yes, I wanted to ask the city manager if is there a way that we could send someone either to this meeting or even no, because this is maybe one of many other examples that may come to us, and we would like to know how to handle the certain situation to see what rights we do have with the applicant or how far we could really fight for our residents in this type of a situation.
I certainly would make sure that we have a representation at that meeting. We wanted to let them know that we're watching. They're a sister city, but at the end of the day, our residents come first. We also want to be able to look at the site to see if maybe on our side, we're able to look at landscaping or some opportunities to create a buffer.
I would also add that I'm sure there's going to be other issues that come up because there's a number of pockets of Hollywood within that neighborhood. And I know that there is some building planned on a couple of those larger lots that are not Dania Beach. They are Hollywood, but they're right in the middle of Dania Beach residents. So we need to keep an eye on what they're doing over there to make sure that we're communicating with them regularly. So I don't know if we can put something in place to maybe just sort of watch what their agenda items are, that sort of thing.
Absolutely, we can.
Okay, great. Public safety reports.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners.
Good morning, good evening.
Yesterday, we conducted a warrant sweep within our city limits. We were able to apprehend 7 fugitives. The charges ranged from trespassing, burglary, felony battery, and several different city ordinance violations. Our deputies have been visiting all our gas stations. I know I spoke about the skimmers. We're checking for skimmers. That's starting tomorrow with the Division of Consumer Services to detect any skimming devices that have been placed on the pumps. We also went around to the gas stations and we placed crime prevention stickers on the pumps just to remind people not to leave their valuables in vehicles. School's out. There's more youth out and about on the streets, at the parks. We've seen a trend in the past of one juvenile knocking on a front door, making sure nobody's home, and then the other juveniles will run around the back side of the house and break in if nobody's home. So just a reminder to be cautious. If somebody you don't know knocks on your door, it might be a good idea to give us a call. That completes my report.
Thank you. Any questions? Nope. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Just want to talk about the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan. Inasmuch as it's slightly delayed, we've had some personnel changes and some contact changes, so that should be presented at the next Commission meeting. And the Fire Chiefs Association of Broward County has, again, this year presented, or we are going to have a summer, what we refer to as a summer sizzle, and it's for children to attend. It's almost like a summer camp at the Fire Academy. So I do have some flyers here, then I'll talk a little bit about it, and we have a small minute-and-a-half video to show you. The Summer Sizzle program started 3 years ago, and each city hosts it. This year it's going to be hosted in Coral Springs at the Coral Springs Fire Academy. All the municipal departments and Broward Sheriff's Office Fire Rescue will also be participating. They have various events. It starts on July 16th and runs through July 19th. And the 16th, 17th, and 18th are for elementary school age to middle school age. And the 19th will be for high school age children, or actually young adults at that point. The elementary age kids, they'll be doing demonstration of fire trucks. They'll see that. They'll see, we'll have Sparky the fire dog. We will have some fire safety lessons and some hands-on activities. And for the high school age kids, we'll have advanced fire safety training. We'll have first aid, including hands-only CPR. So they'll get a lesson in hands-only CPR. Participation in fire department training drills. They'll actually do some of the drills that we do. And they'll also have job interview etiquette being presented. And each of those days, there's 2 sessions. They attend the morning session or the afternoon session. And the morning session will be 9 to 11:30, and the afternoon session will be 1 to 3:30. And again, it's at Coral Springs Fire Academy. It's also known as Coral Springs Regional Institute of Public Safety. The address is on the flyer. There's also a number to call on the flyer if you want to reserve a spot for your child or loved one that you that fits those school age. And then, yeah, the only thing else we have is the video. This is last year's event, and we'll go ahead and play that for you. And it gives you kind of a taste of what they'll be doing and
We are at
experiencing.
our second annual Summer Sizzle at War Memorial Auditorium in the city of Fort Lauderdale. We have from the Miami Poison Center here to talk to them about the differences between safe and unsafe poison. We are doing exit drills in the home. We have hazmat. We are doing a truck tour with spraying the fire hose outside. We also, for our teenagers, a very special thing this year, we're doing hands-only CPR and choking, and we have the pipes and drums and our honor guard going to be doing a large presentation of color ceremony. We have all of our fire departments participating from the Fire Chiefs Association of Broward County, and the kids are really walking away with some valuable information.
I learned about CPR, how to save people without breathing in their mouth, and poison. Certain poisons not to use and stay away from. I learned about how to do CPR and how it works and what to do if no one is around and if I'm the only one that's here to do it.
I think it's wonderful that we get this exposure of so many people and so many children to fire and life safety, and that hopefully it makes them safer, but also helps keep their families safe. But we have to do public education, and the public has to help us help them be safe. So I think this is a great opportunity.
Summer Sizzle would really like to thank the Fire Chiefs Association of Broward County and all of the municipal fire departments, the Board of Rules and Appeals, and our local union for support.
That's all I had. Any questions?
Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you for that. Is there any way some of those programs, especially when we're dealing with fire and life safety, if they could come to our camp maybe for a day to do some type of workshop with our kids to understand? I mean, and I'm not sure the age appropriateness, because some of those kids were a little older, but for age appropriateness with our camps that we have at Frost Park and CW, if you can teach a course or a class for, you know, a part of the day on fire and life safety skills for our kids here in the city?
Yeah, absolutely. We have, and we tailor to whatever age group that we happen to have. Again, this one's going to be separated, elementary and then middle and high school.
Sure.
So those, some of the activities you saw and some of the ones that were interviewed were of that age group, but we can tailor it to whatever age that we have. And actually the number to reserve here is also our life safety educator. And Courtney, you saw her speaking. She could, if you give her the request, that's how we just handle it. It goes through the public education, and then they'll get it out to the training bureau or the operations or whatever additional resources that you need for those camps.
Okay, city manager, is that something that we can try to, because I don't see Eric here.
Yes, Commissioner James, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, with the addition in your support of a district fire chief, we would actually be getting this information, not in June, but with plenty of time to be able to plan. But that's something that you and I have discussed, so we're going to be able to make a contact with that young lady that's presenting the program to see if we can bring it out and do a field trip, make a field trip out of it and open it up just to the kids in camp and maybe some of the kids in the community that are not involved in camp that may want to come that day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll just leave the flyers up here.
Next up is the consent agenda. Do we have any polls?
7.3 and 7.8 for me.
Anyone else?
If not, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 7.3 and 7.8.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
7.3, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of East Florida authorizing the proper city officials to execute an optional renewal of the existing agreement with CAP Government, Inc. for plan review inspections and clerical building code services valid through May 15, 2021, utilizing the City of Fort Lauderdale request for proposal 575-11849 that will exceed an annual vendor total amount of $25,000 each fiscal year the contract is in place. Authorizing such purchase to be made from the building fund approved annual budget appropriation, providing for conflicts for the providing for an effective date.
Yes, I have a budget question. I don't know if Mark I looked in the backup, and how much are we spending for CAP from June to September? I believe it said somewhere around, that's why I was going to ask Nikki. I believe it said somewhere around 600,000. Am I correct?
From, excuse me, from September till now, it's about $525,000.
So how much would that be on an annual basis?
That's probably going to go over $1 million this year.
Okay. And we have never went out to bid, because I looked at the history and it said that we piggybacked off of another contract. How much have we expanded the budget for this? Has it always been this number?
Well, as you know, as everyone knows, there's more development activity in the city, and therefore there's more need for the construction plan review and inspection. So their services are going to go up. They bill us on an hourly rate. So it's increased over the years. So this will probably be one of our peak years. We've already done about $4.5 million in construction permit fees alone. In previous years, it was about $4 million, $3 million. So we're going to almost double what we did last year. So this is going to be a very busy year. Last year, CAP received about $450,000. So you can see they're on mark along with they're trending right along with our growth in construction, about doubling from last year to this year. The county also is going to probably be doubling their efforts this year. But when all is said, we only pay those two contractors about 25 to 35% of our total fees that we receive.
Okay, I don't know how anyone else feels about it, but because it's such a large number, it's going to go over $1 million. If they come back the best, they're the best. But I would like something like this to go out to bid and keep CAP, because obviously the contract is expiring on a prorated basis until it comes out to bid, just to see what else is out there, making sure that, because it hasn't gone out to bid, making sure that they are being competitive, and this is the best case scenario for us, especially with our procurement process and how things have gone.
Commissioner, when we come off of a piggyback contract, it's from another city's competitive bidding process. For example, the inspector's rates from CAP is $75 an hour. The county is $85 an hour. Plans examiners are $85 an hour with CAP and $98 an hour with the county. So their rates are somewhat lower than their competitor. There's only a couple other competitors in South Florida, yeah.
Right. So I would want to see that. I don't know how anyone else feels.
City manager?
Yes, we have no problem at all if that is the will of the commission. One thing I will tell you, whether it's CAP or the county, another vendor, Calvin Giordano does this type of work, but when we piggyback off of another city, that means that city has gone out for a request for proposal. One good thing, though, about having a balance between outsource and inside, outsource and in-house employees, is that at any given time with the outsource team, we can make a change or make a move if we're not receiving the services that we expect. Insurance is something that continues to go up, so it's good to have that balance, but certainly we would have no problem putting out an RFP at all.
Yes, I understand how the piggybacking process works. It has to piggyback off of a current contract, and I understand how they had to get to that point. I do know that there are a few more competitive competitors in this, and not just the county, and so I would want to, if it's something that we're spending over $1 million, and I understand that we have a lot of development coming in. I'm not saying that it's being mismanaged or anything like that, but as I told you, last budget season, I also came back and asked that we decreased the amount that CAP was doing and hired some permanent employees, and which is what happened. And so I'm just following back up on that and making sure, because it's not going to be the only contract that I'm going to scrutinize, and make sure that we are, I've said this about 1 million other contracts up here, so.
Vice Mayor?
I've always been one that tends to think, why not look and make sure we're getting the best price? Is there any downside to going out and seeing if there's something more competitive now?
Well, as the manager said, if you'd like us to go back out, we will, of course. We need to keep them on board and doing their work until the RFP process is completed. So the only thing you'd be jeopardizing is that continuity of the work. We have a team that's together doing the job. They're very successful. You know, it's this sort of hybrid between county staff, city staff, and CAP staff. So we're right in the middle of a really big bulge of development to sort of change the team around. We'll manage it the best we can. Maybe we'll come out as good, maybe it won't come out as good. But I know what I have now to go forward with. But whatever the commission wants us to do, the other thing I thought of as an alternative is I could come back with a report. I mean, I can get other contracts from other cities, give you a report of what those rates would be from other cities. And it might provide us all a little more information, might make it a little clearer for you to determine whether or not you want to do an RFP.
Why would you prefer that over going back out and going through that process?
The certainty. I mean, the development community needs to have a certainty that they know who their plans examiners, who their inspectors are, and things like that.
Commissioner Harris?
This question is to you, Mark, and to the city manager. Are you 100% happy with the level of service that CAP provides?
Yeah, well, I think as I said earlier, it's a good team. I think we've been successful.
And they're responsive to all the
absolutely.
Basically the demands of the developers and
yes, and so is the county, and so is the city staff.
Okay.
It all works very well.
All right. So if it's not broke, don't fix it?
What did you think?
I think at this stage, it's really a matter of continuity.
Yeah.
But we'll be happy to explore, you know, other firms and things like that and other ways to provide service. That's not a problem if that's what the commission wants us to do.
And what's the forecast for the development projects in the future? Do you have a dollar value, maybe?
I don't have that in front of me now, but you know, $8 million worth of permit fees is a lot of construction. I think this year we might do close to $400 million to $500 million. Next year we're thinking that we'll be back around the $300 to $400 million range. So we expect it to come off a little bit. But then again, people are talking to us about more big projects in Dania Beach. You know.
Mark, how long would the contract be for that we'd be authorizing to?
This is 2 years.
It's 2 years, which would basically go through the majority of the large development that's going on with Dania Point and that sort of thing?
Oh, yeah, as it relates to Dania Point, it would, yeah.
Okay. All right. Commissioner James.
Yes, I have a motion, or to see if we have consensus once everyone's done talking.
I think you need a motion.
Okay, I make a motion to keep them on, obviously, for at a prorated basis or month-to-month, or however you want to do it, and go back out for RFP just to ensure. I like to just make sure, especially when we're spending this amount of money, that I've crossed all my T's and dotted my I's and done my due diligence. I guess I shouldn't have said all that in the motion.
Yeah. Second it.
Before we vote, question for you. Is there any financial impact to going out and doing another RFP?
No, I don't think there would be.
How about time impact?
Well, I mean, it would take a little bit of an effort to put out the RFP, but I think it's manageable for sure.
Okay. Can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes to the motion. It's always good to look further.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
Can hurt. What do you say now?
7.8 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, authorizing an appropriation from the City of Dania Beach Hurricane Reserves to pay for expenses related to hurricane season preparation and related matters and supplies in an amount not to exceed $100,000, providing for funding, providing for conflicts, providing for an effective date.
Yes, I pulled this item as well. I'm just a little confused about it. I'm asking Nikki to come up because it's a budgetary question. I'm confused that it says the hurricane reserves is $8.9 million, and it's for 2 months of operating expenses. Is that not what our other reserves are for as well?
This is actually, excuse me, Nikki, Sanderfield, Finance Director. This is just your hurricane reserves that we put aside in case of emergencies. As you well know, with Irma, when it came, we had some immediate expenses that needed to be done. with relationship to the actual hurricane without actually having to use our regular reserves, which is for normal operating. So these reserves, what we're anticipating is that we're going to be needing some.
Like debris removal and stuff like that?
Right, right. This is what we use for debris removal and all of that. We did use some of that money during Irma. The commission did vote last year at mid-year to go ahead and bring it back up to the normal reserve in anticipation of waiting for the money to come from FEMA, which we are currently working on. We're slowly getting some small stuff in right now. The larger contracts, which we're still waiting for, have not been obligated by the state yet, but we're in contact with them almost daily, trying to get that done.
So when it says operating expenses, it's not to pay employees in case something happened, it's just.
No, this is just
Okay, because I was
normal
confused
hurricane.
about that.
No,
And the $100,000 that we're going to appropriate in advance, are we going to have a specific, I know it says some things like sand and other resources, that water and things like that, but is there anything that we are not going to see come before us, or if we're going to approve these things, is there a specific list that can only be spent on, or are we?
Well, what we did is we did try to put together, the city manager's office, public services, finance, all kind of sat down and kind of brainstormed on the things that we think that we may need. Some of these things we'll need to buy in advance of the storm,
Sure.
but not until we know that one is approaching. Your sand, things like that, you're not going to stockpile that now. You're going to wait till before the storm, but what we need to do is have the funds available, so if a storm is coming upon us, that we have the ability to go out and go ahead and spend the money without having to try to get commission approval in the interim. So this will be put into an expense account strictly just for hurricane, and will only be expended upon whenever it's necessary. There are a few items that they'll want to have ahead of time, such as gloves and things like that for the work crew, that we anticipate will be here in response to a storm, but the items will only be purchased as necessary and obviously within the purchasing guidelines.
Okay, that's all I have.
City Manager?
If you needed.
No, I'm fine. I just wanted clarification because it threw me off when it said operating expenses.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brandon.
Yes, the League of Cities really set this amount of money up, this $8 million, at one time when we went to the meetings. But what's so good about never touching this fund is because when we have a hurricane, there are a lot of companies, first of all, they're not taking checks. It's a hard situation. They'll go to the cities that can pay them right away before they'll go to the cities that don't have the money. Trust me. Like, as she even said about FEMA, they're still not up to date on the monies that they owe people. Isn't this true?
Yes. Yeah, it was a very huge storm, so there's a lot of paperwork involved in it, and of course we're trying to get reimbursement as quickly as everyone else.
And Sandy, in the Highlands in New Jersey, which was totally wiped out, if anybody knows New Jersey, they still didn't get their checks yet. They still didn't get their checks. My aunt lives there, and she got the elevator, and she wouldn't even go in that. They had to raise the house up in here so high, and she's 96, and she don't want the little elevator they got. So it's big problems there for everybody, but look what year we're in now. And when that happened, and they still don't have the money, they had to put it out themselves. And that's when it comes in, like people like Bergeron, really. They did a fabulous cleanup job afterwards. We even gave them a proclamation or something, I think, at the time. Fabulous job in picking up all the debris. So I just want you to know that I'm a big fighter to keep that $8 million in that hurricane fund. That's to protect you. Me, I'm living on the 6th floor of a condo. If the water comes up that high, you ain't there either.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve item 7.8.
I'll second it.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
5-0, thanks.
Okay, we have no bids and requests for proposals tonight, but now we have public hearings.
9-1 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 17, entitled Offenses Miscellaneous, Article 8, entitled Sexual Violators, Section 17-128, entitled entitled Sexual Violator Residency Prohibition of the City Code of Ordinances to specify that the provision of the residency prohibition applies to offenses that were committed after June 28, 2005, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, further providing for an effective date. It's the second reading of this ordinance. A quick summary of this law is that we've adopted a law about 15 years ago that it's unlawful for a sexual violator, and I'll say what that is in a minute, to reside within 2,500 feet of any school, daycare center, park, or playground in the city. A person who violates it is subject to a fine or incarceration or both. A sexual violator means any person convicted of a sexual felony offense in any state in the United States if a person who was the victim was under the age of 16. What happens is that constitutional attacks have come across on ordinances such as ours that you can't apply it to offenses that were committed before we adopted our ordinance. Lawyers call it an ex post facto law, meaning we can't, conduct that occurred before something was a crime or can't be visited against them. So this just changes the date that anybody who became a sexual violator and convicted after the date we adopted this law 10 years ago, 15 years ago rather, will now be subject to the law only.
Commissioner James?
Yes, the only question I have about this is how does this work when you have vacation rentals and you have these people, like, is that something that the state looks at or could we look at? Because you never know who will be staying next to you and your children for 5 days.
Well, that's true. We're not going to know that because if they came from another state, they don't have a report on the Florida Data Registry.
No, not if they came from another state. I'm saying, does the state regulate that in Airbnbs or vacation rentals?
I do not think they address that. I think each city, again, this happened in 2005. I remember it came from Mr. Book coming to all the different cities asking that the cities adopt this after what had happened to his daughter. And all the cities in Broward, I'm aware of, adopted the law at that time. But no, it does not address people on short-term rentals.
And it's nothing that we could do to...
It talks about, the term reside does not include any temporary stay in any residential unit as long as it does not exceed 15 days in any one calendar year. That's what we had to do to comply with the state laws at the time.
Thank you.
So we're not going to know who that is, but it does not apply.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against? Okay.
I make a motion to approve 9.2.
9.1.
I'm sorry, 9.1. Moving ahead.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Brandemart,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman,
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn.
Yes.
5-0.
9.2, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 17, entitled Offenses and Miscellaneous, Article 4, entitled Noise, Section 17-80, entitled Definitions, Section 17-84, entitled Special Permits, and Section 17-88, entitled Specific Prohibitions of the City Code of Ordinances, to add a definition for the term heavy equipment, to revise the special permit fee for applications seeking temporary approval of activities that cause noise exceeding code requirements, to address hours of construction activities and activities involving demolition and use of heavy equipment, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, further providing for an effective date, second reading of this ordinance.
Vice Mayor?
Mark, is my second half of the resolution still coming? Is it cooking?
Yes.
Is it almost ready? Is the oven going to ding?
It'll be here on 6/25 first. That's part 2 of the ordinances.
Okay. I forget what we said. Did we say we were going to make it 2 separate?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is part 1. Part
This will
2
just be
is getting rid of the
strictly
decibel
residential.
meter approach to noise enforcement and with a new modernized sort of approach to noise enforcement.
Thank you. Just checking.
Yeah.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Make a motion to approve 9.2.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Brandemart,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman,
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn.
Yes.
5-0.
The next several items are known as quasi-judicial items. Anybody that's going to speak, including city staff, has to be sworn under and take an oath as to what they're stating. So anybody who's going to speak on behalf of the Howard Group, Inc., the Mamayanese Academy, although that's to be continued, and the BC Dania Oaks, anybody's going to speak, Please stand. Swear or affirm testimony you give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thanks very much. Please be seated. And the commission, if you've been contacted, as they read these out, please disclose to the audience. First one is 9.3, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving the the request for a waiver, WA 3519, from the 1,000-foot distance separation requirement pertaining to the sale of alcoholic beverages submitted by Trip Scott, PA, on behalf of the property owner Howard Group, Inc., for property generally located on the southwest corner of the intersection of Ravenswood Road and Southwest 42nd Street within the City of Dania Beach, Florida, as legally described in Exhibit A, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, further providing for an effective date.
I have not been contacted, but I did attend the planning and zoning meeting about this issue.
Okay.
Same here.
Good evening, Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This application is for an alcohol waiver for the property at 4201 Ravenswood Road. The property is zoned commercial, it has an industrial land use, and there are no code violations on the property. There are business tax receipts that have been issued for the property. The latest was issued in 2018 for a restaurant. The subject property is currently an existing Caribbean restaurant. It's located on the southwest corner of Ravenswood Road and Southwest 42nd Street. The applicant is requesting approval to sell beer and wine at this location. The land development regulations has a 1,000-foot separation for alcohol sales. The issue with this particular location is that there, across the street to the north, about 200 feet away, is a convenience store that currently sells alcohol. And to the south, about 400 feet, is the Rustic Inn, which also sells alcohol. So for those reasons, they're asking for the waiver of that distance separation to allow them to sell alcohol as well. This is the aerial location map. As you can see, the subject property is highlighted in red. It's kind of at the corner. To the north is where the convenience store is, and to the south is where the Rustic Inn is. And that's the issue, is just the proximity to those locations. This is the existing restaurant, what it looks like from the street view. There are criteria in the land development regulations about that have to be met in order to approve an alcohol waiver. Those are identified in the staff report. The applicant has also identified how their requests are consistent with those criteria, and that's in your application package. Alcohol waivers are a little bit different than other applications that we have. It requires going before the Planning and Zoning Board for a recommendation to you as the commission. So the Planning and Zoning Board heard this item last month, May 22nd. They recommended approval. They recommended that you recommend approval. And the application then is in front of you, and at this point, staff's recommending approval as well. And I believe the applicant is here. They were present at the Planning and Zoning Board and to make a presentation or answer any questions you may have. And I'm available for questions as well.
Commissioner James?
Yes, Corinne, excuse me. Why do we currently have this 1,000-foot separation when you're dealing with two different entities if we're going to have restaurants that close to each other that both sell alcohol?
So that regulation applies citywide. It was to kind of prevent a proliferation of bars and that kind of activity. In the downtown, however, in the CRA, we do not have that requirement. Right. Particularly if there's restaurants, if they're serving food, then that separation goes away totally. So we are trying to encourage it downtown. Elsewhere in the city, I think it was more just like you do with any other use where you have a distance separation, just to alleviate proliferation in any location.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
I make a motion.
If you'd like to speak, you may.
I'm available for any questions if you need. I'd like to keep it brief.
I don't think we have any. Oh. Commissioner Harris, do you have one?
No, I was at the planning and zoning meeting when you made that excellent presentation, so I think Commissioner James is going to move the item, and I would like to second it.
Okay.
Were you?
Yes.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve item 9.3.
Cool.
And you're seconding?
I will second it.
Okay, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Oh, that's right. I said yes.
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
Thank you.
9.4, resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving a site plan modification SP 3803 MOD request and special exception SC 9019 request submitted by Callaway Architecture, Inc. on behalf of the Maimonides Shalom Ad Academy, Inc. for property located at 5300 Southwest 40th Avenue in the city of Dania Beach, as legally described in Exhibit A, a copy of which is attached to this resolution. Providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date. The applicant has requested the commission approve a continuance to the June 25th commission meeting. However, people are here if they wish to.
Yes.
May speak.
And I also, just to disclose, I'm sure we all have been, I was contacted via email and telephone by some residents. I also was asked to attend the public meeting with the citizens or the residents nearby, which I did attend. I know there are some people here that want to speak. If you would, please come up, state your name and address, and please limit yourself to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Dennis Sobieski, and I'm the property manager for Oak Hills Condominium, located at 5120 through 5170 Southwest 40th Avenue. Back on May 13th, we had a community meeting with the school. The mayor was good enough to attend, and at that meeting, we addressed several concerns that we had with the school. One of the biggest issues was traffic, and now that they're looking at adding, at the time there was 4 classrooms, now I understand there's 5. That's going to considerably increase the traffic that's on 40th Avenue during school time. One of the biggest complaints was that there's an obvious noise and light pollution issues that are coming into the community. Up until recently, there was a complete landscape tree area that ran along the property line between the association and the school. The school removed almost all of that. I think there's only maybe 2 trees that are left on that property line. That's allowing all of the school's noise, light pollution from their parking lot to enter the association. We also addressed the fact that we had some concerns of setback issues. Right now, there is a maintenance shed that's probably within about 3 feet of the property line. We feel that that shouldn't be. There should be at least a minimum of 10 feet or more. There's also drainage issues. When we were in the parking lot, when it rained, we saw with the removal of all of the trees and the landscaping that they did along the property line, there was now water running from their property into our parking lot. We addressed this at the meeting, and we were hoping that they might be here tonight so we could address them personally.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here that would like to speak? Please state your name and address and limit yourself to 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Marjorie Burnell. I live at 5170 Southwest 40th Avenue, Unit 9E. And I just wanted to mention, in addition to what our manager mentioned, and kind of like to ratify, my problem is I'm facing the fence that separates the school from my unit. I was extremely saddened when I saw the trees that had been cut off for various reasons. Not only is the fact that it's an aesthetic point of view from us ladies, I guess, but it also blocks the noise. And that is a big issue. Some of us, for whatever reason, health or what have you, we lose somehow our privacy. I don't mind anything else. I love the school. Fantastic. Give me my trees back. Okay. I want to hear the birds singing. I want to block the noise. I want to have the shadow that the trees give to the cars that are parked underneath. I want to have privacy. And this is not just me. I represent 7 residents. And we all feel the same way, in addition to what our property manager came and spoke. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? So we need a motion to continue it?
Can I have I have a motion to continue item 9.4 until 6:25.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
9.5, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving a replat DR 5419 request submitted by Police Land Surveyors on behalf of BCD Dania Oaks LLC for the Oaks Place plat for property located at 5461 to 5525 Southwest 40th Avenue in the City of Dania Beach, Florida, as legally described in Exhibit A, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Good evening, Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager.
Can't hear you.
This application is for a plat amendment for the property at 5461 to 5525 Southwest 40th Avenue. The application is zoned planned residential development. It has a low 5 residential land use designation, and there's no violations on the property. The subject property is located located south of Southwest 54th Court, immediately west of Southwest 40th Avenue. It's made up of 4 separate individual parcels, each with single-family homes. All of those structures will be demolished in order to construct a 57-unit townhouse project with a clubhouse. That site plan has already been approved. So what's before you tonight is the plat. As you see before you, there was various approvals that have been granted by the Commission in 2015, 17, and 18 regarding the site plan itself. These are the properties in question, the 4 properties that make up this project. This is what the site looks like. There's very heavy vegetation. It makes it difficult even to see the structures that are on the property today. At this time, the applicant's requesting to subdivide the whole tract into individual lots. Each would contain 1 townhouse dwelling. And this is consistent with the development regulations regarding townhouse development. So this is what the plat looks like. As you can see, there's individual parcels which will contain a townhouse on each of those lots. And that incorporates all 4 of those individual properties that exist today. This request did go through the Development Review Committee. It was reviewed on April 25th, and that is composed of the BSO Fire, Public Services, Landscape Consultant, and Community Development Department's Planning Division. The applicant has been able to address all of those DRC comments. So at this time, staff's recommending approval of the proposed request, and I know the applicant is here to make a presentation or answer questions that you may have.
Commissioner James?
Yes, I have questions for Mr. Mealy. I was contacted by a few of the residents who may be confused, and I was confused as well because I didn't understand the technical issue and why it wasn't presented with everything else. And I want to ensure the residents that this is not going to include or allow for more density in that area or a change to the other plans.
Go ahead.
Dennis Mealy, 200 East Broward Boulevard, on behalf of the applicant. This plat matches exactly the site plan that was approved. So you may ask, why are we doing it? If you look at, in your backup, it's the page
Dennis.
right before the
Dennis,
resolution.
can you come a little closer to the microphone?
Oh, sorry. Looks like it's shorter.
We've been
today or
having some
something.
issues. We've been having some
okay.
issues.
If you look at your backup, at the page right before the resolution, and it was something that Ms. LaJoy just showed on the screen. What it says is if you're doing townhomes, there's 3 different ways to do it. The first way is what we're talking about tonight, because what we are going to be doing is selling fee simple townhomes, and we're going to have a homeowners association. The second way is if you were doing a condominium. And the third way is basically if you were renting the property, where one person owns it all. So if you'll recall, when we were doing the site plan, we kept modifying it to reduce the number of units. First it was 61, then it was 60, and it ended up at 57. Had we done this lot and block plat then, we would have had to keep changing it, because every time you change the number of lots, you'd have to move it. So basically, the plat that's on the agenda tonight matches exactly the site plan that's already been approved, and it simply shows platted lots because that's what your code requires if you're going to sell fee simple, which is what we're going to do. We're not going to rent, and we're not doing a condo. Under Florida law, this is a type of thing that attorneys would refer to as ministerial, because we're not changing anything, and the plat meets all of the requirements of the code. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I know several of us probably received the same emails. Anytime something about this project comes up, we receive several residents who voice their concerns and their displeasure about it. When I was on planning and zoning, something about this came up before, and I know I listened to all the information. I listened to the traffic studies, and I listened to the residents' concerns about those traffic studies, and everything, all the data that I was given was shown that that the roads could handle it. And so at that time, I voted yes for it. And then maybe, I don't know, a couple months later, I was going to go look at a home down there for myself to go buy or rent, whatever. And my God, did I really see exactly what these people were talking about. And at that planning and zoning, I had gone during those times, but I missed it. I don't know why I missed it, but, you know, I went at 5, I went at whatever times I thought would capture the traffic, but I didn't see it. It wasn't until those months later. And I'm not talking about traffic, the annoying traffic we have on Federal, or how long it takes, you know, to get to Publix, the just expected traffic of living in a city. This was extraordinary traffic burden, and it was exactly what the residents had described. And to this day, I still don't know why the traffic studies showed that it would be okay. It certainly taught me a lesson about how I value how I evaluate the data that's given to me as a commissioner. But, and I know that tonight what we're talking about isn't specifically about this, but I promised those residents who emailed me that I'd put my 2 cents in and just validate that it is terrible. It is terrible, and it was very frightening. I had my little boy in the car, and I remember seeing one car drive off the road. I guess he didn't feel like staying in that gridlock. I don't know exactly what was causing the gridlock. I guess just too many cars, and we were trying to turn off into a little ingress, and we couldn't. And someone got mad. Someone drove off. And needless to say, I did not buy the house. I went to a different street. And I've gone back over and over again, and I've seen it over and over again. So when I think of these 57 more units going on, I have no idea. I can't even imagine how that's going to work. And I'm so sorry for the residents on that street. I really am truly sorry that I can't do more at this point. That's all I have.
Commissioner Harris?
I mean, just for the record, they're not adding any more units. Is that correct? it's the 57 that was approved previously?
It is staying exactly the same as the approved site plan, 57 townhomes. Fee
Okay.
simple.
And then when, in the future, when those are occupied, it's going to be an HOA?
That's correct.
Could we request that in their HOA documents that they don't allow any short-term rentals? Is that a possibility? Because in the HOA where I live, we have that stipulation in our documents.
I will certainly ask them to do so. I know that cities, I hear this at various city halls, that cities' hands are somewhat tied by the state statute, but I will certainly make that request.
But HOAs are different. We just talked about that last night, actually. So HOAs
No, right.
are
Well, I know
different.
HOAs can do more than a city can do. I understand. That's why I can actually make that request.
Commissioner James?
Sorry. Is there some kind of way, because I know exactly the traffic and that Vice Mayor is talking about. I know with Dania Point and the way they have engineered their lights and the flow of the traffic, it moves. And that is the issue. The light is long on 40th and Sterling. And then you have everyone really wanting to turn right on is that Sterling or is that Griffin? I don't remember. However,
It's on Griffin.
yeah, to make that right turn on Griffin. But when you go to make that left turn or go straight through Sterling, that is the problem. Is there some type of way we can work with the state or the county or whoever is in charge of the street to reconfigure the traffic lights and how that? I don't understand how that works.
If you can answer that, that's great, but I have some information that might help too. But go
Right.
ahead.
Generally, what I've seen done in that type of situation is if you contact the Broward County Traffic Engineering Division, which is up on Commercial Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale, and ask to have the timing of the lights
Yes,
looked at to see if more green time can be given to 40th, so that would ease that
Right.
situation. But that's where I would start, is with them.
You want to add something to that?
I was going to add something to that. I'm trying to remember where I heard it. It may have been at the traffic department because I was there not long ago. My understanding is that FDOT has a number of projects that are coming up, and the first thing on their list of things to do is traffic light sequencing in Broward County, and that's all traffic lights. It's a major project, obviously, but my understanding is that is one of the things that's their primary focus. It's their number one project that they're supposed to be working on. So that hopefully will help part of the problem. And I know that the traffic on that road is just, it's ridiculous. And a big part of that problem with the traffic on that road is like Waze and these other apps that you can use for GPS. They take people down that
shortcut you.
road because it's a shortcut and they don't have to deal with the traffic on 441. So that's one of the issues as well. And if we had some traffic calming devices on that road, I think it might reduce the amount of GPS devices that tell you to go that way, because usually if there's a traffic calming device, they don't send you that way because it's going to make you go slower. So,
Mayor, just two things. First, what you were saying about synchronizing the traffic lights, that is something that has been going on in the county, but at a relatively slow pace.
Correct.
yes,
That's
very
what I was
slow.
going to ask.
And I know that with the passage of the penny tax, that's on the list to
That's
speed
where I heard
that up.
about. That's where I heard about it. Thank you.
And then finally, when we were doing this project, we were talking about traffic calming, and at the same time, MPO is doing a project on 40th, so I would urge you to, if you haven't, talk to MPO and see if they'll put some in for you.
All right. So to finish, could we, Mark, is this some way that you could, because again, like I know we're doing a citywide or a countywide with the synchronization and the traffic lights, but I do know that we were able to skip that process with Daniel Point. Is there some type of way that we could work to get more green light space or synchronize it in a different way that is more effective on 40th Street at the
Sure.
intersection?
Here's what I would suggest, that, we give an opportunity for our engineers to look at the conditions out there with the database that the county does have, and then make a recommendation, maybe bring it back to the commission for a resolution, because your observations are very good. The issue is really at the signals. The capacity of the roadway is sufficient. That's why the traffic study said, there's enough capacity for this project. But when you get to those signals and they start to delay traffic, that's when you get the congestion, the frustration. The other thing that's going on, of course, is the Hard Rock parking garage dumps right out on
Lucky Street.
Lucky Street. And there for a while, State Road 7 was shut down for construction.
Go through that.
So, but it's really at the two signals. The MPO has a roadway project that'll make it a safer two-lane road with some turn lanes, but it doesn't change the traffic signalization. I think it's something we should look into further, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the last part of that I'm going to put together is I'm going to ask Chief Marks if my favorite little motorcycle police officer, who I think pulls everyone over during school zones, he's like hiding behind the bushes. Every time I ride by, I'm like, Dion, he's going to get somebody because he pulled me over before. I was like, you're everywhere. You're just everywhere. But if you could see if they can sneak behind some of those trees, because I know exactly what the Vice Mayor's talking about. The cars get impatient and they drive around the cars and it was a death. Someone got hit, and it was a hit and run, and someone got killed on 40th Street because they had cars bypassing the lanes and going onto the grass. And we have a lot of kids in a lot of schools, and with Maimonides, and then when you have Hollywood Hills right there, that is where the congestion really comes. So,
Commissioner Harris?
Since there's an MPO meeting the day after tomorrow, and I'm the representative for that. I'll be sure to ask Greg Stewart. It's part of the CSIP program and part of the LRTP, I believe. And the signalization is in the one penny sales tax initiative that the funding will be here within a year, hopefully, if all goes well with the county. So there are things that we can do to take a good look at it: signalization, road improvements, striping, traffic calming. So I'll meet with Greg early Thursday morning, and I'll have him take a good look at that. Greg Stewart of the MPO, Executive Director.
Vice Mayor?
That's good timing.
But just to underscore that, while I'm like, let's do all that stuff, the county programs, can't wait to see them coming. Please do get the engineers to look at whatever the thing is with the lights, make whatever suggestions they make, and then for the love of God, just please fix it. It's terrible. To whatever degree we can. Please.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against?
Make a motion to approve item 9.5.
I'll second it.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
5-0.
Next up is discussion and possible action, presentation update on Dania Beach Grill.
Oh, we already got it. Do we have that?
This podium is
Go ahead, City Manager.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, residents of the City of Dania Beach, special guests, and staff. So we wanted to give you a recap. Last time we discussed the grill was about a month ago. So we're passing out pretty much the presentation for this evening. So we want to recap the events and the recent history. We know that the grill has a... Oh, the lights, please, Tom. Thank you. We know that the grill has an extensive history, but we've discussed that. So January of 2014, the adoption of the beach revitalization plan. And this is this plan that I'm holding in my hand. It's really an outstanding plan. I know Commissioner Brandemart was here back in 2014. It was passed unanimously by our city commission then. Fast forward to January of 2019, it was the expiration of the Dania Beach Grill lease. Then January of 2019, I looked at the minutes and the video of that meeting, and the commission directive was to draft an RFP for the Dania Beach Grill. March, I come along as your new city manager. I requested an assessment of all city buildings, including the Dania Beach Grill. In April of 2019, the inspections and Phase 1 engineering report of the Dania Beach come in. April of 2019, there's a closure and security of Dania Beach Grill. May of 2019, we had the Dania Beach Grill City Commission workshop. It was very, very well attended. And May of 2019, we received the second phase that we were waiting for of the engineering report. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mark Leferrier, and he will continue the presentation with some of the details that the commission and our residents have been waiting for. Mark?
Sure. Thank you, City Manager. This agenda item, as the manager said, is a follow-up from all of the recent work that we've done on the Dania Beach Grill and from our workshop back in May. You remember there we said that we were waiting for a follow-up Phase 2 report that would give us the cost estimates of what it would be to repair the existing beach grill building. It also looked again at some of the concrete issues that were beginning to deteriorate. So in summary, the results of the report said that all of the MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing equipment, all has to be removed and replaced if you were going to repair the building. That's a cost that's estimated at about $35,000. Then on this, I'm sorry, that's a cost that's about $135,000. Then there's another approximately $400,000 in all the structural work that's in the existing building. And when I say structural work, some of it's non-bearing. For example, all the decking, the bar, the stage, all of that sort of work outside of the building itself. And then there's the actual concrete structure itself, where there has been some damage. We don't know the extent of that damage because we didn't tear off all the siding. And that damage is about $175,000 to $200,000 to repair. All told, it's about $550,000 with the limited investigation that we had. Once we get out there and we begin to demolish some other aspects and we get a really good look at the complete concrete structure, we might find more damage, such as more damage on the roof. And then once we go back in and we do cost verification with a contractor about what it will actually be to repair the existing building, we think it could go up to as high as $700,000. Now here's some slides. Oops, wrong way, I'm sorry. Here's some slides that sort of show some of the worst examples of the state of the structure. That's the floor on the left, and then that's the tie beam on the right. You can see that all the years, and this is an 85-year-old building, that all the years that it's been out there in front of the ocean, that it started to need some help. And then here's some examples of some of the electrical and mechanical problems. There's also plumbing problems too. So clearly, if you wanted to repair the building, what you'd really end up with is really the 4 concrete walls, the floor, and the roof, which is what's the original building. Tonight's agenda item is also going to talk about different options as a follow-up so that we can get some direction from the commission about where they want to go next with the grill. This is a beautiful location, and it's a wonderful opportunity for the city, and could be a wonderful opportunity for a business partner. So we've laid out 4 different options. We originally started with 3, but then after talking it out a little bit further with all the commissioners, we determined that there could be a 4th option as sort of a hybrid. And the first option would just be to repair the building. I mentioned that for a little bit. And the pros are simple. It's the lowest cost. You are going to end up with you're going to come back with a safe structure, but the cons are that you're going to spend $700,000 and you're going to have a building that's still going to be susceptible to floods, hurricanes, and storms. It's not going to be consistent with the beach master plan. And you're going to really not increase any kind of rate of return or activity that could occur at that part of the beach. Option 2 is to repair and renovate. We talked about this a little bit in the workshop, and that is that once you get the repaired building, you're going to be limited by state and federal law as to how much you can spend on the renovation of the building. Now, renovation isn't simply repairing things that are a safety hazard. Renovation is a new kitchen. It will need a new kitchen, new bathrooms, new dining room in the interior space, a new bar. You'll be limited because of state and federal law to only building another approximately $110,000 for those different renovations. And I'm pretty sure that all those renovations are going to well exceed it. So you'd have to scale back again, which means you'd have a limited kitchen. You would still have a building that wouldn't be hurricane resistant, and it wouldn't be consistent either with our master plan for the beach. And the third is really something that would be a whole new structure, something that could be very exciting on the beach. The south part of the beach is something that's a bit underutilized. There's a lot of activity on the north side of the beach. So a new beach grill at that location could be very exciting. It would be new, contemporary, modern construction that would be compliant with all building codes, so it would be resilient to storms, flooding, and hurricanes. It also provides a really good opportunity for a P3 or a design-build situation where the private sector can come in and build it. It would be compliant with all of the FEMA regulations, so it would help with any kind of insurance. It would be a new modern building, so it wouldn't have to be shut down for repairs nearly as often. It could also be built as sort of a 2-story building. It's going to be up anyway, but it could be a 2-story building so that the main restaurant could be on one floor and there could be an event space that the city could manage and lease out on the upper floor. That could be just a wonderful event space. It also is going to provide some new opportunities for additional revenues, because I think that this is going to activate that part of the beach. The other businesses on our beach are going to be more successful because of it. So that means it'll bring more income into the city so that we can help our beach overall with improvements in maintenance. Now, the cons side of it, or the things that make it a little more difficult, is, yeah, it will take a little longer because it's a new structure where there's other agencies we have to get approval from that we wouldn't. There's going to be an increase in parking needs at that end of the beach. Certainly, we want to make more improvements around this beautiful new building, so there'd be some additional costs and additional timing that's needed to make the site improvements, but those are needed anyway. And I think I mentioned that we're going to have to deal with more agency approvals. So that's about a 2.5-year journey, and that's option 3. Now, option 4 is a little bit of a hybrid of 2 and 3. And what that would mean is we could still proceed because they wouldn't have the same location. We could still proceed with a new Dania Beach grill, but we could really use that old grill for something that could be pretty exciting and also pretty needed at the beach, and that is a vendor space. The Commission's talked about this in the past. There's examples of it elsewhere in other cities where they've taken old structures and they've retained the 4 walls and the roof, and they've repaired them, which is easier to do than to build a new structure. And at this location, you can have like a sort of a walk-up food and drink service, beach sundries, or other vendors could work out of the old beach grill, and it could be a sort of a venue for other activities, sort of at the ground level. We know the new beach grill is going to have to come up about 10 or 12 feet higher. This is something that would take 18 months to 2.5 years. I say 18 months because we could start in on the old beach grill a little bit sooner and get that done earlier. But the pros are the same as option C, except for in this case, you'd have that new renovated building. It's going to be renovated at a very low level for the existing beach grill, and that would provide additional uses and activities. The cons are basically the same as what it would be with C. It's going to take a little more time, and there's going to be a little more added cost to the rehabilitation of the existing building. And we think this could be a good opportunity too. So you've got 4 options here. The attorney is, the next step would be for our attorney to get direction from the City Commission so that he can begin the RFP process and bring that back to the Commission so they can approve that before we send it out to the private sector to bid on. That concludes, excuse me, my presentation. We're here for any other questions and discussion.
Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you. I'm just going to jump right into it. I love the option 4 idea. This goes back into the Vice Mayor and myself went to Orlando recently, Lake Eola, and we saw something that probably could accommodate these two. In that way, the existing grill, if we really renovate that from bottom up, it could be more of a venue where we have seating outside and more of a relaxed feel, a place with a deck with live music and seating and just more informal. And then across the way, you can pull up and you can go to a restaurant. And I spoke with staff and we discussed also that, a lot of the time when you have businesses, they come and they want private rooms. And I know that would be a good deal to be able to have a private meeting or a conference or whatever you have and be able to oversee the water if you have the 2 stories over there. I think we killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I think this is the option that will allow us to do this in a matter of 18 months for one while we're constructing a restaurant on the other side. So that's the one that I'm in favor of.
Vice Mayor?
I too am a fan of option 4, but I have a couple of questions about it. So how long would it take to get the bar stripped down to the walls, the roof, and the floor so that it could be used for we're just calling it a concession stand, but I guess it'd be a little bit more than that. You could do the vendors, like you said, through there. How long would it take to get it to that?
Well, obviously, the first step would be to demolish, everything but the concrete structure. And from that point, we'd have to look again because we would have to do a really good analysis of all the walls and see where the repair would be made. The repair of the walls wouldn't be that significant of an effort. It's really going to be the part of the reconstruction of the beach grill that's more relative to renovation that might take a little longer. So to make it a useful building, it's going to take probably that 18-month period.
Okay, so I'm going to round that up to 2 years.
Yeah.
All right, 18 months to 2 years. And then, I know, I'm such an optimist. And then, so we talked, I think maybe the last meeting, about having vendors on the beach, like somebody who you could get the, like a chair and umbrella from.
Mm-hmm.
Could they somehow operate out of that space, or, I don't know, in conjunction with whoever we had in there?
There's about 2,500 square feet under roof. And there's,
that-
yeah,
You
it's
could do a lot there.
bigger than it looks.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, there's a fair amount of space there that could be utilized for multiple users. An example that I've seen is in Pompano Beach at a very similar building to this. There's a couple of bathrooms there. There's a little walk-up food and drink, and there's also a beach vendor right there too. So they're able to kind of use that building, that old building, for the same things that we've talked about here.
When you say food and drink, you're thinking about that also for this space? Just like, I don't know, canned cola, water, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, that would be the commission's decision, how they
Okay.
want to deal with the concessionaires.
All right, and, okay, all right. So, and then during that time, how would we wall off the construction area?
Well, there's some, you know, there's some pretty good methods to do that, but, you know, you can get some pretty good construction fencing and wrap it so that it sort of gives an illustration of what the commission's approved and that we're moving forward with that would be very secure.
Okay. Would it be miserably loud?
You
I don't
mean-
know, I'm just thinking if.
You mean the construction
Yeah.
itself?
Yeah.
It's going to be like any other construction site. I mean, we're not going to be doing something there that's going to be unusual to building a home.
Okay.
You know, for something like that, now when we get into the other structure and all the site work that's going to be associated with, you know, the full implementation of the plan, sure, you're going to have earth movers out there, bulldozers and things like that. So it will be, yeah, it'll be noisier, but
Okay.
it'll be beautiful when we're done.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Brandon.
Yes, to me, option 4 is the only way to go, because I wouldn't invest $700,000 of the taxpayers' money into that, and we didn't even start our development of the last phase of it. It's all got to mesh and fit in together. Because we already have our plan, as the manager said, that was adopted by the previous commission, and it's a great plan. And yes, you do need 2 stories, because we're going to be raising the road also. And with 2 stories on a bar of a restaurant, they'll be able to see over those sand dunes or the walkway to see the beach. What good is it having the restaurant if you can't see the beach? You might as well stick it up on Federal Highway.
Yeah, be nice.
So I'm for option 4 all the way.
Commissioner Harris.
I'm for option 2 as well, because I think if you look at the I'm sorry, option 4, sorry. I meant also 2. Option 4, number 2, yeah, also. Because when you look at the revitalization of the beaches from, you know, Fort Lauderdale, Pompano, Vice Mayor can tell you, she was just there at Pompano Beach, what the improvements that they've made there, and the example that you pointed out to Deerfield, Boca, Delray, Boynton, Lake Worth, I mean, all the beautiful places up there, that this will be a time for us that we can really do something creative and smart and sustainable, which I think is more important. So, yes, for number 4.
I'm in agreement. My only comment on the food and beverage service and talking about vendors coming in and doing that, we would have to be careful though, because to do renovations of the kitchen and bar and all that, that's going to go beyond the amounts that we can do without having to bring everything up to code.
Yeah,
right, current codes.
it's going to have to be a repair with a very low-cost renovation.
So if there's any vendors that wanted to come in there and sell food or drink, they're going to have to do it with limited services. Is better. I can't think of a better word for it at this point, because I mean, obviously, demolition is one thing. You can tear out the kitchen, but to rebuild a new kitchen is going to cost a lot of money. I mean, it's going to be about $80,000, something like that, easy for a commercial kitchen. So that's going to bring you right up to the amount of money. You're coming close to the amount. That's our limit on this. So just something that we need to think about is that if you're going to bring in vendors for food and drink, it's going to have to definitely be limited. I mean, I could see something like a smoothie place or something that's simple, or pre-made foods or things like that. But as far as anything, even microwave stuff, you can probably do, but anything bigger than that, we're not going to be able to do under that plan.
Something that wouldn't require a fire suppression system, that's when kitchens get expensive.
That's what makes it very expensive. I know City Manager has something, and then I know Commissioner James also.
Yes, well, first of all, I want to thank this commission. Every single one of you spent hours with us on meeting before this meeting, so I'm very grateful for the time that you've taken. But like what Commissioner Harris has said, not only the beaches to our north, like Fort Lauderdale and Pompano, but the beaches to our south, like Hollywood and Miami. It's our time. We have the opportunity to invest, and the return on the investment is going to really be really significant. One thing that we have looked at, and I have met with our finance director, our non-resident parking fee could really yield in excess of $1.5 million. So the investment here, we'll get the return for our investment, and we can have the best strip of beach in the entire state of Florida. From the quarterdeck to our pier, to using the existing concession, to a new grill, and the park, and really begin to implement this. And the partnerships, the public-private partnerships, and the wide net that we can cast on this is really, really extremely exciting time for our city. And I wanted to thank you for your support, and thank you for the time that you've invested in this.
Commissioner James.
Yes, from a few of the comments that I heard, Vice Mayor, if to my knowledge, or Mark can tell me, I'm sorry, to my knowledge, the revitalization plan or the beach plan that we approved, that was approved in 2014, it had a place for concession and vendor space to be built on the north end of the beach where the portal is. That's where most everyone will be needing those chairs, those umbrellas, because it's actually on the sand. So I wouldn't be in favor personally with putting that right there, right next to a restaurant. It already has a place on the space plan for that. Am I correct?
Yeah, the original plan did have a vendor, excuse me, on the north side.
Right.
All right. And then, so I mean, my thoughts would be, because I wanted to make sure that we made something similar to the Dania Beach Bar and Grill, that feel, to make sure that that first small one, or the, I don't know what you want to call it or what we would call it, would be more of like a, smaller foods. Obviously, that doesn't need the suppression system, but make sure they have a bar. And I don't know if we can write into the RFP, Tom, different options to see what we could get back from different developers. If we have someone that wants to have both the restaurant, that was a different feel and a different experience than having the little open bar with the live music. If we wanted to have that separated, I think it would be better if we could cast that net and have somebody that operates both, so you don't have to worry about that competition and they are both owning the same two restaurants. I don't know if we could put that into together to see if it's a possibility if one owner can have both, or if we can have it separated both. And the second thing, another benefit is that we can put a lot of these costs in the RFP on the developer and not on the city. And so that was my other comment.
Vice Mayor.
Can I get a beer at the concession stand?
That's up to you. That's up to the
It's going to be
commission.
us, yeah.
Well, for a minute, let's just entertain the idea of, why, well, remind me, why is that such a no? Because I know it came up once before.
We knocked it down.
And we knocked it down.
Family-oriented beach.
Family-oriented beach. Actually, sorry, I just was repeating what Commissioner Brandemarty
it's
said.
true.
And as a very family-oriented mom, I too enjoy a beer every now and then. So I'm thinking of what our other beaches offer, and I hate limiting ourselves, and I hate thinking that if you were, that if you had the choice, it would be a shame if you passed over all that we're going to be offering soon for something as silly as you couldn't have a drink. I don't know that it's such a slippery slope that you go from a concession stand where you can get yourself a domestic to I don't know, Residents Gone Wild. So.
Have you met our residents? No.
Well, some more than others. So just something to float out there for those that are open to the idea, but I know some aren't.
Commissioner Brandemarty?
You could buy a beer by just going over to the quarter deck, ma'am. The other end of the beach is because we know that we have no alcohol on the beach, the same as Fort Lauderdale, the same as Hollywood. And we're not going to be the little tiny town in between selling alcohol on the beach. It was the right thing to do, to be right in line with the other towns. If they want to have alcohol, they could go sit in the bar and drink. And that's where they should also go and urinate. That's what I feel. And we did have that issue down there with the grill, so I don't want to hear that.
Okay. So our next step would be what? To suggest, have the city attorney draft an RFP or tweak the RFP that we originally requested?
Well, it'll need a lot of expansion now, which I'm happy to do it. I think what I can do is, I'm just thinking about it, the thing we've done for the city center was based on a P3 net that was thrown out. So I'm going to take pieces of that, pieces of what we used when we got the quarter deck, because the quarter deck built over an existing restaurant. It gutted the restaurant that was there before, the kitchen, and then they were given a credit for their rental to recapture some of their tenant improvements. We, in fact, paid for the tenant improvements, a lot of money to do that, but of course we have a very, very successful operation there. So I'm going to do a hybrid like that, send it back to you after it goes through staff, and I'll let you go tweak it, but I'll make it as flexible as possible. One person can do both. One person could pick one or the other, however they want to do it. Everything will be open, and we're open to ideas that the restaurant community and entertainment community can bring to us.
City manager?
I think while legal is working with staff to put together this RFP, you may want to consider parallel some work being done on the site. There's this playground there that really shouldn't be there. There should be some demolition. I think that we can begin to gut and prepare the inside of the existing grill, and take those parallel steps to expedite the process and be a couple of steps ahead.
Do you have an estimate as to how much you think that would cost for us to do that now?
I would think that not to exceed maybe $200,000. I don't know how much we could do in-house, but I would think that this is something that we probably would need to outsource. But I think we may want to gut the inside of the grill and begin working on that, and begin to put the signage, of what's coming soon, and let everybody know what this commission is working on. That existing grill with temporarily closed, I think now we take that off and let everybody know what the will and the proactiveness and the decision of the commission is.
Are we going to need to put that out to bid, though, as well, if it's going to be outsourced?
Yes. That needs to be RFP'd as well.
Okay. Let me see. Commissioner James?
Yes, I just want to make sure in that bid, Tom, that we are the consensus that we don't want to include like a full-service restaurant in that smaller facility, right? It'll just be for... Right, I just want to make sure that it's spelled out.
We'll make sure that the people understand there's limitations for the building and under the law that they can't have an operation like that.
And then are we still going to be the owners of that?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
You would never want to sell any of these properties.
I want to be clear.
You'll be a landlord.
Okay.
Commissioner Brandemarty?
Well, that smaller one, why don't we run it? I don't mean us, I'm talking about we, the city, and get some employees that would run that for us. It's only going to be a walk-up thing.
City manager?
I think we want to really focus on the core of the services that we deliver. When I'm beginning to see the increase of insurance costs and things like that, Commissioner.
Yeah, you're right.
Workers' comp.
I would think that we would let like professional operations and concessionaires operate that.
If you start on showing our residents that we mean business down there, and we're going to start, are you going to have to fence that part like all off there? No, you don't have to fence that?
Well, I think that the demo will have to probably
They
keep
will.
this fence about where it's at, maybe expand a little bit more, and then I'm thinking that the playground could probably be removed in a day.
Yes.
And some site work done afterward.
We should start that ASAP, so
Without a
that
doubt.
the people know we made a decision that didn't sit on a shelf for 20 years.
That's right. That's right.
It's true.
Okay. Good. All right. So is that our consensus here, that we're going to have a directive to the city attorney? Yes. Okay. Thank you. I think you've got all five of us.
Awesome.
Okay. Commission comments. Commissioner Brandemarty.
I just want to say how proud I am of the hurricane preparedness event that we had. And yes, it was the largest we've ever had, and more vendors than we've ever had. It just was great. And thank you to all that had it going there. Thank you.
Commissioner Harris.
I was at an affordable housing conference last Thursday in New York that I was invited to, and not only were there people there from all over the country, but there were people there in finance and development and architects that actually some were from this area, so we'll be reaching out to them for some more affordable housing options. There were finance people there from Fannie Mae and also from Citibank that are here locally that can help us with our program. And they talked about big ideas for small lots, housing the homeless in exchange for working for the city, neighborhood pillars, rent stabilization, and monetizing the access to your home and co-living spaces, which I know the Vice Mayor is familiar with. I'm not sure if that's applicable for those of us that don't live in a totally urban environment, but they presented a lot of good ideas, and it was very informative. So, and then I was walking through Times Square last Wednesday night, I believe, and through the crowds of those of us that have been there, and I stepped off a curb into a storefront and ran basically right into Rachel Bach, who was our former CRA director, and it was such a shock. I think we were both shocked to see each other in the midst of thousands of people, but it was really nice to see her. She's doing well, living happily in Toledo, Ohio, and she was there with her sister and her family, so it was good. It was good. Just wanted to share that.
Commissioner James?
Yes. I want to thank the residents that came out to the Airbnb workshop yesterday. I think it was a very effective workshop, and we received a lot of comments and a lot of helpful things that will help our ordinance. So I want to thank the public for being involved and those of you that showed up. I want to ask about this E. Harris Drew Lifetime Achievement Award and what we are doing with this. Are we nominating someone? I'm not sure if we usually nominate anyone, but I would like to nominate Chicky, Commissioner Brandemarty. I read the criteria. You have the most longevity up here, and well, not in that way. For community
and in
ser-
life.
Well, you're seasoned. It's fine. You're seasoned. And especially with doing things in the community and your seniors, I think you have the best chance of any one of us up here to actually get the award with the criteria that has to be met. And what you have done with your seniors program, I think that deserves a nod. And so I want to nominate you for that. If you accept the nomination, or I would assume the rest of the commission isn't going to say no. But I didn't know.
No, you're out.
I don't know if we've ever done this, because as far as I've been up here, we've never discussed it, but I saw the email that came in from the Florida League of Cities, and I thought that would be most appropriate. The rest of us haven't been here for over 4 years, so how do you all feel about that?
It's fine with me.
Do we need to do anything? Do we need to write it up?
I'm not sure who writes it up. I'll get with the city manager, and we'll figure it out. I know 2 elected officials need to sign it, so I would recommend the mayor and the vice mayor. That seems most appropriate, and hopefully we can bring one of these awards home for some of our elected officials here in Dania Beach. I asked Chris to sign me up for the medical marijuana webinar. I'm not sure if you all received that invitation as well. Okay, so I didn't know if it went to all of us. Okay, so it's on Thursday at 2 o'clock. I'll have Chris send it out to everyone. Again, it's if those of us still haven't, but I will be.
Where is that at?
It is online.
Huh?
It's online at 2 o'clock. It's a webinar. It's on the website. It's on the web. It's not. You don't have to leave your house. No, it's not about smoking. It's about medical marijuana, the different ways to use them, how cities are dealing with different policies and procedures and everything else that we're going to have to deal with as the government and the allowances of medical marijuana continues to change. I just want us to be proactive and get ahead of things and really understand what we're going to be facing. I don't know.
She says to do it from your bedroom.
You can't. Well, we're not.
On a computer. Yes.
Well, yes, that's what you do on the webinar.
Huh?
Yes.
Oh.
But we're not discussing smoking.
It's about medical marijuana.
Okay, I guess that's it for me. Thank you all for coming out. I don't know.
All right.
I'm done.
Vice Mayor.
After that, I don't think I want to say anything.
Oh, go for it.
But just quick clarifications from what Commissioner Harris said. So I'm a very big proponent of co-housing, otherwise known as intentional living, which is different than co-living. And I just don't want anyone to Google co-living and think that we're advocating for it, because they'll find out that they'll be living really close to some people. So 2 totally different things. But yet, nonetheless, I think it's interesting to see what other cities are doing, even if we will never, ever do it here. It's still cool to know. I'll tell you about it later when we're in bed smoking. Just kidding. And it's great to also hear. I didn't see. Maybe I just didn't see it in my email about the medical marijuana. I'm a nurse. I'm a very big proponent, very big advocate for medical marijuana and for people's access to receive medication and to have it regulated as such. So hearing my other commissioners talk about it really tickles me, because I feel like I'm now not the only one talking about it. I'm going to look for that information about that webinar, and I'll check into it also. That's all I got. Thank you all for coming and participating in government. Have a good night.
Just a couple of things, and very short. First of all, I feel like we've been doing some really good things lately. We've gotten some really good feedback on the housing forum that was done after the last meeting last time, as well as the meeting last night, the workshop last night. Definitely some very good things have been happening, and I feel like we're making some progress. With that in mind, it dawned on me not too long ago that this is the 115th anniversary of the town of Dania. As you can see, 1904. Yeah. So with that in mind, I started thinking about it and thinking that perhaps we need to do some sort of a celebration for the city, and do maybe something down at the beach, since especially because we're now working on the grill, and that will also show that, show people that we're moving things along. And I've actually started looking into it a little bit, and I started talking to some local businesses and some businesses even outside of the city who deal with the city quite a bit. And I haven't gotten official written commitments, but pretty close to some sponsorships, possibly catering to assist us. And the next meeting, I'd like to have something a little more prepared, but because this just sort of came about and I just started recently going around and talking to some people about it. But I think it's an opportunity to celebrate the good things that are going on in the city and celebrate the past as well as the future and really bring things together. So next meeting, I promise you, I will bring you some more information. And if you have any ideas in the meantime, bring them as well. But in the meantime, I just wanted to kind of let people know that it's something that I was thinking about and that I've been doing some due diligence on, and actually, there's actually probably 3 businesses right now that I think I'm this close to getting commitments from, so, for sponsorship, and I think it'll be significant. So,
Let me ask you something.
sure, I'm not sure who hit first, Commissioner Brandon, it was.
Yeah. Could we incorporate and use the new roundabout thing that we put out there at the north end of the beach, where we were going to have
Yeah.
events? Can we incorporate that
I think we
into
could.
it?
I think we could.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I think it could be a whole.
Yeah.
I've been tossing a few ideas around, and I mean, it could be like an all-day thing. I mean, we could have different aspects of it throughout the day.
Love it.
And make a
Love
little
it.
festival out of it, yes.
Little events or something
Yeah,
nice.
and
I love it.
include everybody. Make it a big thing for the
Is
city.
it going to be a free thing?
Well, that's what the plan is. I'm trying to get
That's what
sponsorships.
get the sponsors.
That's why I'm trying to get sponsorships. I'm trying to get some different businesses to commit to a certain amount of money that they would donate. I'm also trying to get some individuals to commit to that. And like I said, at least one restaurant I'm pretty sure is willing to cater it. So, and we'll go from there. But like I said, I'll have more information at the next meeting. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. This is something that I am working on and that I think would be a really good thing for the city. Commissioner James.
Yes. Oh, excuse me. Thank you for bringing that up and reminding us. I attended the 110 event, which was fantastic, amazing, first class. It was incredible for those of us who attended it. I know Commissioner Harris was, the showstopper there because Stage Right put it on. But it was an amazing experience. And so I don't know if we could do a twofold, like during the daytime, kind of do all those things on the beach, but and then have a formal celebration, maybe at, I don't know, the Gallery of Amazing Things is always a great venue to host it, but I think something free for the residents and then something, want to dress up nice and,
Right.
have a program with that later, like we
Yeah.
did the last time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the idea. We want to make it something for everybody, and try to do it with as limited expense as possible. Perhaps Stage Right might want to be involved as well. Again, since we have a connection there.
Yes.
Just saying. Anyway, so that's really all I really want to talk about tonight. And as to appointments, Parks and Rec and Dania Beach Housing Authority are not meeting again. Well, Parks and Rec isn't meeting again until September. I'll have an appointment before that, and Dania Beach Housing Authority I will probably have next meeting. Our Florida League of Cities 93rd Annual Conference voting delegate.
I nominate.
I was going to nominate Bill. Oh.
So Lauren's already the
Okay,
person
so Lauren's
on
our
it.
person, so that's fine.
Well, what?
Yeah.
Well, you are a director.
Correct. So go vote.
If you don't want to do it, then
I do, but I like y'all
Good.
to be involved. I like everyone.
I'll walk you to the room, okay?
Y'all so rude. I accept.
all right. So, do we have to make a motion on that? Can somebody make a motion?
I make a motion to nominate. Oh, well, do I just say I make a motion for the appointments or to accept
Yes.
the appointments? Okay, make a motion to accept the appointments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Administrative report, City Manager.
Yes, good evening. Congratulations. This is a very historic night in the city. I mean, very historic and
Because we're
very
going to be done
exciting.
before 9:30?
I'll only need like 30 more minutes.
No.
Don't rush.
I'm
me,
cutting
please.
you off.
No. No, we, seriously, we continue to invest in key areas in our city, in safety, in security, in budgeting. We had a fantastic meeting, Mark and I and Eleanor, last week. We met with the people at Dania Point, the Kimco folks. As you know, we have a law enforcement BSO substation there for police. I want to get you and get our residents a substation there for fire. So we've started the dialogue to be able to bring that to our city. I've met with Chief Holness, Chief Busenberg, and also Chief Fernandez. So we're working on a design plan. So we're going to really, really seek that for our city, and we made some really, really good progress. We also wanted to let you know that at the July 23rd meeting, we will be coming forward for you all to set the millage rate. We continue to tune fiscal year 2020. It's going to be a challenging year, but it's going to be a very good year. So we're getting ready to bring that forward to you, the proposed budget. We have the September 12th is going to be the first budget hearing. That has already been set. Now, we have an opportunity, if you would like to move the September 24th meeting to September 23rd or the 25th. And if we're able to do that, then we can have 2 meetings in September rather than 3 meetings in September.
Are you giving us, did you offer 2 different dates?
Yes.
Okay. Can you go over what those
Yes.
dates were?
So
again,
September 12th is the first budget hearing. Yes, that is
5:01?
correct. That is at 5:01. Now, the second budget hearing cannot occur on the 24th because we cannot be in conflict with Broward County or Broward County Schools. So we can have the meeting on the 23rd or the 25th. So that would be Monday, the 23rd of September, or Wednesday, the 25th.
Is this something that a CRA has to, a director has to be involved in too? Because we're speaking about the budget in totality?
This is the budget hearings. Did you
I
want to
understand.
chime in and, please, Nikki?
Because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember Raquel saying something about one of those meetings she wouldn't be able to make if we moved it. And
Okay, typically the CRA has to have their budget passed way before that. It's like in the first week in September, I believe. They're on a different timeline.
Correct.
With theirs. So the meeting, we can't have our public hearing, the second public hearing, we cannot hold on the 24th, which is your normal commission meeting, because it conflicts with with the county or the school board. So we have to hold it prior to that or after that. It can be, so what we're suggesting is instead of having your second budget hearing and having a commission meeting on a different night, that you can combine them together just by moving the commission meeting.
So we're putting out there the 23rd, which is a Monday, or the 25th, and changing our September 24th meeting to either the 23rd or the 25th, based on your availability.
I'm fine with either.
If you guys have no other conflicts, I'm a working girl on the 25th, so if we could do the 23rd, that would be a little easier for me, if nobody else has any conflicts.
Okay, so
It's fine with me.
if
What
every,
would the time be?
is there, the time
We
will start
typically we do it 5:01.
5:01,
Okay,
and then we'll go into a regular commission meeting as well.
all right.
So our second meeting in September, clerk, would be September the 23rd, commencing at 5:01 for the second reading of the budget hearing.
And then we do the commission meeting
And
right
then
after it?
Right after we move into commission meeting.
Okay.
The only, I know that there are Jewish holidays around that time.
No.
There's nothing conflicting.
Russian-
I just
no.
want to
We've
make sure.
actually
Okay.
checked all the
Rush.
Jewish holidays, all the calendars
Next
for.
week.
Okay.
Yeah, we have. So- Yeah, we'll send you a memo, and
Okay.
get you all the updated information, and we'll post, to make sure that we comply with everything. We started summer camp. It's going fantastic. I want to take the time to really thank Parks and Recreation, BSO Sheriff, BSO Fire, and all our city departments. Everybody's pretty much running on all cylinders. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Nothing to add.
City attorney, nothing?
No.
Okay, city clerk, reminders.
One meeting coming up. Tuesday, June 25th at 7 PM is your city commission meeting. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. With that, we're adjourned.
All right, good meeting, guys. Good meeting. Great job.